Our scene is set still within the Odyssey Theatre. This is the second part of the Prince's Elysium. This is the area just off from the Prince's main floor, where all the kindred made their presentation, where kindred can sit and socialize in a much more relaxed atmosphere. There are loyal retainers handing around corked bottles of blood. The blood is flowing freely, as is the general generosity of the host. And kindred are allowed to simply relax and do what Camarilla kindred do best. And we join our scene with quite a few of the assembled kindred already here, milling around. And let us begin.
Darkstone finally makes his way out from the private rooms, taking a seat at a table. He motions for John.
John goes up from behind the bar, once he believes that the spread of vitae available will suit most tastes. Mr. Darkstone.
You have any of that, the previous one you had in the tasting?
Yes, that particular stock is still selling. If you ask for 28-year-old Scandinavian, I'm afraid I'm fresh out.
I could use some this night.
Well, feel free, Mr. Darkstone. I can understand your need to find the answers in the bottom of the glass. Just drink with moderation.
Jacob will make his way into the room as well. He likewise will come forwards to stand up at the bar, provide to him one of those smiles. Friendly, not overly much so. Interesting week.
Seems a lot happens in such a short time. How are you, Mr. Crowley? I hope you're enjoying it.
Oh, the Elysium is wonderful. The only discomfort I have comes from my own thoughts.
I hear your clan is quite provocative these nights.
Not intentionally. Just seems to be going around as of late.
Well, I suspect you can thank the charity of Miss Tavalaris. If that gentleman did that within my domain, I don't think you would ever see the way out of it.
Oh, indeed. I am quite impressed with her self-control in that regard, but I imagine she had her reasons. Have anything good to drink? Something strong?
I have some of the classics. Forget-me-not, Firebrand. I've recently received a new batch of, what is the name for it? Oh yes, Femme Fatale. I get a feeling that might be your taste.
I think, considering this past week, that is too appropriate for words.
John nods to one of the servers to give him a generous helping.
Jacob will take it, nod his thanks. If there's a requirement for payment, he'll make it. If not...
No, do not be foolish. I am hosting this Elysium, and it shows the wealth of the Camarilla that we can hold such parties for the benefit of the whole sect.
Of course. And he will nod. Good fortune to you and your associates. I foresee things going well for you in the future.
Well, that is the hope. New dawn. Just because I'm not asking for your drinks, Mr. Crowley, do not hesitate to place your money on the gambling tables. He smiles wickedly.
I may, after the drink. And with that, he'll make his way over to a table, sit down. He chooses one against the wall, making himself accessible and capable of watching the room. In fact, looking for the lady who was identified as Iris's ghoul.
You see a strange, very tall man, almost looking like his entire body is covered in tattoos. Long, dark black hair with strange blue and red highlights all over it. His eyes that are normally a luminescent blue are covered with ruby-tinted glasses as he slowly just makes his way into the room. And this bows to the assembled company. Devin Creed, pleasure to meet you all.
No need for such formality here. Come, come, Mr. Creed. Can I get you a drink, Tom?
Certainly, anything wet is fine. He makes a rather awkward juxtaposition, shifting his guitar to one leg and finding a seat near Jacob.
I do not believe I recognize you, Mr. Creed. Who did you get to vouch for you for your invitation?
At this point, he will actually remove a signed letter that's sealed with sealing wax from the Louisiana Primogen Thomas Whitman. I had to make my way over here from Louisiana. Thomas Whitman, who is my clan Primogen, will vouch for my authenticity. He gives Crowley a slight wink and just sort of smiles.
John will smile sweetly and take the letter and hand it back, and then look over Mr. Creed's shoulder at Mr. Crown with a pointed stare.
You want to build?
Crown will be circling the room quietly.
Alex comes into the room looking a little bit agitated at this point. His hands are sunken into his jacket pockets, and he just simply slinks in carefully, looks around the room, and finally his eyes land on Crowley, and he makes his way over to him.
Noticing his approach, Jacob will take the glass he's been casually nursing, put it down in front of him, and with his hand over top of the glass, look up towards Alex.
Alex will simply just casually sit down somewhere nearby and look over to Crowley. I'm not gonna lie, I am seeing a lot of faces here I don't know, and I am not sure who to talk to and who not to.
Well, at this point in time, you're new. I would suggest you talk to everybody. There's nobody here who's going to stake you on sight, and even if they did in Elysium, they would not survive the night long.
I wasn't worrying that anyone was going to stake me. I'm worried about making people look bad.
You only represent yourself, so far as I know. As far as myself as the Primogen Toreador, well, I know you're new and all, but if you really make a fool of yourself, I'll just correct you publicly.
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling so much more calm now. Okay, well, I wasn't planning on making myself look too horrible if it worries you. I don't know how gambling looks to everyone, but I'm already out $200.
Gambling can be one of the finer arts. It shows your luck, it shows your skill, your stubbornness, or in some cases, just how well you can cheat.
By the way, are those bottles of blood?
Yes.
They do that? This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Your sire or whomever.
I'm very new. Forgive me.
Very new.
I've not really come across too many of these. Looks fancy. I actually kind of thought it was wine at first.
Well, there are those mixed with wine and other spirits to give them a good flavor. He'll take another sip of his. Feel free to indulge yourself in some if you so wish. Out of curiosity, I know that you and Codex managed to finally arrange a meet.
You say me and Codex. Honestly, I didn't pull any strings and I didn't talk to anyone. More along, I was there just to be along for the ride, if anything. I did meet some pretty prestigious people my first few nights here. I ran into the prince in the street, believe it or not. This is not our first meeting.
Well then, congratulations. And how did that go for you?
At first, a little bit awkward. I didn't know who he was at first, but we made, I'm hoping, proper introductions. I've met John. He says, looking over at John across the room. I met John as well. He seems, what's the word I'm looking for here? Regal?
I don't know. Yes, that would be one word to define the Ventrue Primogen.
I get a feeling that would be defining most of the Ventrue in general, though.
They try.
With that, Alex finally lifts himself up from the chair, takes another look around the room and goes, I think I'm going to try my hand at gambling again. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. Don't lose too much. If I reimburse you, you pay me back double.
He walks off with a somewhat discouraged look as he walks.
And Jacob, feeling rather satisfied in that, sits back, relaxes, and goes back to looking for his intended target of conversation.
Devin will actually look up from tuning his guitar and just sort of smile. It's amazing the people you just meet on the street these days. Oh, about that little fracas or run-in we had. Sorry if I gave any offense.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah, that. Wait, were you talking to me or Darkstone there? I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Oh, he was talking directly to you.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. No, it's no problem at all.
At this point, Moira will head over. Moira heads over to Jacob's table. You wish to speak with me?
Jacob gives her a wide smile and says, yes, I'm afraid I haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet, but I hear you are Lady Iris's?
Yes, Moira sits at the table beside Jacob.
Jacob will politely make a motion to Devin that he intends to have a private conversation.
He'll just get up and walk a good distance away out of earshot, although he does have enhanced hearing, but I don't know if I'm planning on trying to hear this, I'm probably not.
Jacob. Jacob will smile as she comes down. Go ahead.
Is there anything else you wanted to ask while I was here?
Yes, quite a few things. And Jacob is going to take a quick glance around the room, and he's going to snap his finger 3 times in rapid succession against the edge of his glass, letting the sound shockwave outwards.
John will blink 3 times every time he does it. It's like a switch.
Darkstone will turn his gaze to look at Jacob.
As my
Alex will
stream
turn his
comes
gaze
up,
to Jacob as well, assuming that Jacob was trying to get attention.
let's see. Jacob does indeed notice that Stan's Hope reacted from all the way over there with that sharp blink. And he says, "Sorry, don't mind me. I want to savor the drink a bit." And he goes back to sipping.
Darkstone just crumbles and takes another sip of the enhanced with a
Not overhearing what they said or anything of any importance whatsoever, Alex just goes back to doing what he's doing.
Well, Miss, I know you were Lady Breckenridge's attendant. I was wondering, did she tell you anything before she left? Since it seems she disappeared from the city in one way or another.
She was beginning my instruction on everything I needed to know while I was working here for her.
So this took you completely by surprise, then?
Yes.
Well, I did not catch the entirety of their discussion with you as I was leading the retainers out. But did she ever mention me in any fashion?
Not that I can recall.
Just as well. If ever he reaches into his pocket, pulls out one of his cards, and passes it over to him, if ever you have any questions or need any help that you can't seem to find answers to within the confines of the normal structures, I'll see what I can do to help.
I'll keep that in mind if that ever happens to come up. And she slips the card into a pocket of her pants.
He just nods to her. I know it's going to be hard for you over the course of the next few months. And with that, he'll lean back and leave her free to rise. Sorry, I don't mean to take any more of your time.
It's no problem of mine. At that point, Moira will get up, nod before she leaves the table, and drifts off into the crowd, not looking for anyone in particular.
As she goes, Jacob is going to use telepathy Yay. What is her current willpower?
Nine.
Awesome! Your willpower is 9. I am so proud of you. Only one success.
I started this character's immortal. I had to have something going for me.
You have an inordinate amount of capability to resist the prying within your mind. All Jacob is looking for, this one little piece of information. He creeps in to see what she may be thinking about her current situation. Telepathy doesn't read like a book. It gives images and perceptions more than anything else.
And you're getting the surface thing, so I guess
Yes, surface thing. So whatever
most
she may be thinking about her situation at this current time.
just a suggestion might be that Jacob Crowley is a complete asshole.
Indeed.
All of you.
Can I message you the details and
Yeah.
drift into the crowd?
Sure, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm going to mute myself because Jacob has nothing else to do here. He's just going to be sitting over here chilling with his drink unless someone approaches him.
Alexander walks into the room, and he goes over to John as he is serving the drinks. Hello. Do you happen to have type O?
Apologies, I haven't heard your accent in some time. Could you repeat that?
Sorry. Do you happen to have type O?
Type O. My dear boy, Type O is such a bland expression of what blood can truly be. Blood is an extension of life. The very essence of a person's experience, emotion, and all their very being is captured within these bottles. Simply, grading it in the medical sense is doing the drink a disservice.
Never thought of it like that before. So what flavor would you recommend then?
What are you in the mood for, sir? Do you like something that tantalizes the tongue in subtle blends and tones? Do you want something strong to overpower the senses with experience, or something light and airy in which will take you to a dreamlike journey throughout the wonders of the palate?
I think I'll try something subtle.
Subtle. John goes behind the bar and pulls out a small whiskey decanter. This one, my friend, I only serve. He pours out a tiny little, quart-sized glass, so about 25 milliliters. This is a very special vintage. The most subtle I have. It is a refreshing, think of it like sorbet. I served this particular drink upon my first vitae tasting within the city. It is kept very well. It is extracted from a sociopath who was force-fed iced water and then kept onto a kidney dialysis machine, so his blood was thinned. The particular inmate that did this drowned his own children. You'll find that the emotional state is very subtle, but very unique.
Alexander takes the glass and drinks and swishes it around the blood inside his mouth, enjoying and reveling in the flavor. This is very good. Very subtle. But the flavor strong. Like I could feel power in it.
There is always power in the life, as Mr. Stoker told us in that trashy novel. It is good to see another Malkavian around. I was worried that your plan had left entirely. I hope that you prosper. The Broken Mirror is always a very valued member of the Camarilla. Now that the reign of the mad Primogen Wraith is over, how are your kin doing within the city?
For the few I've met, they appear to be doing well as they can.
And what of yourself? Do you have any aspirations within this city, Mr. Reeving?
How to put it? I aspire to be something more than I am now. Just something better.
A very noble goal, but there are so many different paths for betterment. I believe the clans are a perfect myriad, a rainbow colour of different ways in which the kindred condition can be explored. The Malkavians are what many like to call the Joker, the wild card. There are so many paths to, I hate to use such a spiritualist term as enlightenment, but certainly self-improvement. What is your definition of improvement, Mr. Reeving?
Alexander drinks more than thinks. Improvement for me, as I see it, is to improve society as a whole, if that makes sense.
John smiles quite, well, warmly at that. Yes. To improve beyond oneself is a very noble goal, Mr. Reeving. And kindred such as yourself are in sore need in this city, I believe.
So, what other flavors do you recommend?
To go over my entire catalogue would take all evening. I would recommend trying at least a dozen or so. If there's any you particularly like, I'm sure we can come to some arrangement. I supply most of the Elysiums, if not all of this city. And many private collectors as well.
What would you recommend for the situation as of right now?
Right now we are in a situation of new hope, of a fresh dawn for the city, a new prince, a veritable new court, but plenty of problems for us to deal with. We are not quite out of the woods just yet, but we can see the light, and I hope we will all take flight. For this Elysium, I have a new beverage in which is simply titled Wanderlust. It is a very fateful vintage taken off a young man I met upon my various excursions. Chose the life of a travelling musician. And never stayed in one place for too long, always moving, always wanting to experience the world, every country. Quite the traveller, given his way, and quite the opportunist. I had him incarcerated for a period of 4 months, just so the depression sank in, and then upon his final medical, when he tasted that fresh air of freedom, he deposited, let's say.
Sounds like it would be very flavorful. I would like to try some of that.
Certainly. John takes this is a larger glass of wine, a good measure. Blood, rather.
Alexander sips and swirls the blood around, savoring the flavor. Mm, very good. So much flavor, passion within. This is a very good blood.
It's always good to recognize another connoisseur and someone who appreciates the finer things of our condition, Mr. Reevy.
Just one moment. Alright, I'm back. So, how long have you been in this city?
Oh, too long. It seems I have grown my roots quite down. I have been here for at least 11 years, originally from Europe. I spent quite a bit of time in the court of London and travelled throughout of Europe, visiting the various Camarilla courts, but before being ward to the ex-prince, Miss Clarity Orchid, and I have ascended to the rank of Brummagem. How about yourself? Where did you hail from before our illustrious city?
I just hail from a small mountain town in backwooded Tennessee, right next to werewolf territory. I had no competition until the Sabbat came around. But I came here as my sire once lived here a long time ago. I have not seen him for well over 15 years, but I'd figure I'd just come here and start a new life.
Who is your sire's name? I might have heard of him at least.
His name is Victor Virivi.
John goes through his memory. I don't believe I met the kindred in person. I would recommend speaking to some of the older members of the court. The prince has been here possibly the longest. I would recommend speaking to him. Wish to locate your sire.
I shall do that. Alexander finishes the rest of his drink. And I'm off to gamble now. It is a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Likewise. If you need anything, then please do not hesitate to contact me. If you leave your details with one of the staff before you leave, I'm always available for ambitious kindred to make their mark on a new city.
I shall do that. And perhaps I'll talk with you later. And Alexander leaves to go to one of the casino machines.
Enjoy your evening, Mr. Reed.
Moira heads over to the bar, goes straight to John.
Miss Peters,
Something you didn't mention. Staying with the venturer who would take me on.
that would be something we would need to discuss within the clan meeting, depending on your particular skill set, assets, and who has the time to train you. Do you have a recommendation or someone you would... Well, I don't suppose you have much of a choice, but where do you think it would fit in best, Miss Peters?
Managing the business I bring with me into the clan. Managing the kine.
Yes, this wool shop you own. I'm correct, am I not?
Yes.
You'll be surprised what origins we Ventru started at, Miss Peters. Do not take your humble beginnings as a slight, simply an expectation to see you climb ever more quickly.
I don't take it as a slight, it's merely where I'm coming from.
Not to interrupt, but Jacob is rolling heightened senses to listen in.
Well, we have plenty of very able kindred in this city, and a rather large portfolio that needs managing. If you believe your talents can be diversified, I do not see a reason why you cannot contribute towards the clan, in the hope that perhaps you will receive the favor of your Domitor.
I can manage things, I can manage people. Given sufficient time, I could learn to very thoroughly manage the kind. I bring a lot of potential, like you said, humble beginnings.
Manage people. You can consider yourself a socialite, Miss Peters, rather?
There may be some more adept than I, but I'm not unskilled.
I am hosting a charity event for some of the up-and-comers of the city, the new Enriche and those with new money. You may attend, and so I may view these skills of yours with people firsthand.
Fine.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that you have decided not to sell yourself short by leaving the family.
I feel it best to match the challenge that's been set before me for tonight.
Precisely, Miss Peters. Every challenge put in front of you is something to be overcome. That is why you belong with the Ventru.
And he's turning off heightened senses now.
How long is it since you last fed, Miss Weir?
A week or so.
Then John will produce. He will seem to be doing something behind the bar, and then produce a small shot glass and pass it to her. He looks at his hand and flexes.
Sorry? What was the last thing you said?
He's produced a shot glass which is full of Vitae. He passes it to you and pulls up his hand, which at one point has a pinprick on it, and then he looks at it, flexes his hand, and then the wound goes away.
She drinks, kicks it back, winces, and drinks it.
John will pick up the glass. He will call over one of the retainers, place it in its hand, and say, dispose. That should keep you going for the month while we find you a suitable Domitor.
Okay. If there's no other business, I'd like to leave for the night.
That is your choice, Miss Peters. I will bring a car round and have you escorted.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
With that, Moira takes her leave, going around people instead of waiting for them to move out of the way and watching the floor the rest of the way out.
John will make sure that Miss Weir arrives home safely and is under supervision in case she tries anything foolish like her Domitor.
Jacob will patiently wait the 4 or 5 minutes needed to finish off his drink and watch the people socializing. Anyone watching him will notice most of the time his eyes are on either Alex or Devin, and then he too will rise up. Stanhope will see from where he's sitting Jacob pass him, waving indication of his departure, and then he too will make his way out.
Alex will approach the bar next to John. He'll sit up in one of the stools and promptly slam his head down on the bar in defeat. And not slam John's head down, slam my head down.
No, yeah, but he's got all specs on, so that hurt.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, whoa. But he'll slam his head down, and from his face down to the bar, he'll hear, "Hello, John. How's your evening going?"
Quite well. What have you done now, Mr. Cole?
You're the one I need to talk to about blood.
That is me.
I need a drink. I really need a drink.
Something strong, I take it.
I'm out $1,000.
Don't play if you can't afford to lose it.
Yeah, lessons learned the hard way.
Well, it's only a little flutter, a little bit of the side tables.
He
You
lifts
wouldn't
his
want
head
to
back.
know the amount of money some kindred lose on my private card game within the casino.
I shudder at the very thought. He lifts his head up and looks over at John and goes, "Oh well, I have an eternity to make my fortune."
That is the attitude to have, Mr. Cole. How is your education?
What do you have? I'm sorry?
How is your education going?
Well, as you can probably tell already, lessons learned the hard way. But I'm getting by, and I've yet to get myself staked, so I'd say that I'm on the good side of things. What do you have available tonight?
Oh, I have quite a few. For you, Mr. Cole, for someone I suspect would like something strong. I have...
Something strong, and I'm told they're flavored.
Sometimes not. It all depends on the particular variety of vessel in which I draw. Sometimes their very lives tell a story within the blood that is worth preserving. Others can be enhanced with flavorings, emotions, other stimuli.
I'm not going to lie. That's both scary and amazing.
It took me a good half of my own life to discover the nuances of simulating vitae, and you wouldn't want to relive the learning process I had to go through.
Here's a question. Do you have anything sweet? I have a very strong sweet tooth.
I have something just for you. How squeamish are you, Mr. Cole? Would you prefer it to be a secret?
Surprise me.
Excellent. I know you, Toreador, can be a little sensitive sometimes. You're very close to the humanity which you once all drew, which is both your blessing and your curse, I'm led to believe.
My human life went over so-so. I'm a little bit more detached than some, they say. Not that I'm a violent person by any measure, just... I'm not as squeamish as some.
Mr. Thornbury has good taste in child, I think. Too many embrace those before their time when they can't let go of their human lives. It's always a blessing when one can seamlessly fit into the night.
I wouldn't call it seamlessly, but I am slowly fitting in. But what do you have available? You were mentioning something.
Sweet.
Yes.
I didn't name this one, I have to admit. It's called Yay Broncos. A rather crass name if I ever heard of one, but apparently it fitted it so well in the tasting. It was a rather innocent little thing that decided to come into the bar with a fake ID. Cheerleader outfit in the bag, not quite as well concealed as she may have thought.
Hmm.
A little vacant, but certainly sweet. And one of those rare little qualities of mischievous innocence that's so hard to find in this jaded time.
Before Alex takes a drink of it, he stops and goes, "Is it expensive?"
This is Elysium, Mr. Cole. The drinks are on the house.
Oh, that's fantastic. He takes a whiff of it before he begins drinking, and subsequently empties it all very, very quickly, savoring some to swish around in his mouth and savor the flavor a little bit. And then he pauses for a moment. He goes, "Am I able to keep the bottle?"
He slides it over. Remember to share. This is your first Elysium, Mr. Cole. At least I'm assuming so. You're at least your first proper Elysium. John takes a little bit of self-satisfied smile in that. He's quite proud of his party. Socialize.
I'm not going to lie. This Elysium is a lot better than any other one I've been to. The previous town I came from, I practically wasn't even allowed to them. I was just little more than a pawn to my, shall we say, adoptive sire. She was not too proud of me, and she did not like showing me off. This is the first time I actually get to walk around and enjoy myself, and so far, aside from being outer grand, I'm actually having a good time.
With all the troubles in this city, we must take a few moments to enjoy ourselves. What is eternity if we cannot at least spend a day having fun?
In my opinion, the eternity is for fun. What else is to live for if not to appease ourselves?
At this point, Devin will come over to Alex with this huge grin on his face and clap him on the back, just congratulate him. There you have it. You just have to find a way to sustain yourself, to stay who you were. Find something that you're passionate about and stick to it.
I'm compassionate about a few things. One of particular I'm getting back into is my street art skit. He stops right about there and suddenly turns back to John. John, how long have you been in the city?
This city? About 11 years.
So, how well versed are you in Ventru buildings and all that they own? Has anyone of your Ventru, have they complained about graffiti on their buildings?
And in the past or recently?
Either. I'm asking them about someone in specific. Have you ever heard of someone named Heaven's Knight?
John looks a little incredulously. Heaven's Knight? Really?
Heaven's Knight.
Yes, I have.
Recently, a building got sprayed here. Some people came to me and they're asking me if I knew anything about it, since apparently I'm an expert on street art now. And Heaven's Knight. I keep coming across that name when I ask around. I don't know much about him, though, other than that he likes to spray places up high. But I was hoping that that you guys might have a little bit more insight on him.
Well, Darkstone is a harpy. It is his job to know all the kindred in the city. I
So
didn't
you
know
want-
Heaven's Knight personally. I was little more new in it during his tagging reign. But I know of him. I'm sure Mr. Crown could probably fill you in as well. He was... Well, he always likes to keep abreast of things.
At the sound of his name, Crown has come out of the windwork, almost out of nowhere, steps behind the bar, pulls himself up his own glass, and reaches underneath the table as if to grab from a cupboard underneath, and produces a bottle with a single symbol on it that just a single crown. He opens the bottle, pours a little bit in his glass. I'm sorry, my ears were ringing. What?
It seems that our Mr. Cole here is asking about an old kindred that used to frequent the city. Do you remember?
Kindred? He's kindred?
As far as I'm aware. Do you remember a Heaven's Knight?
The name does not sound familiar, no. But back in those days, I ran security mostly for Mr. Williams, so I did not get out much.
Graffiti artist, likes to spray paint places up high. Ring any bells?
I didn't take much interest in graffiti. I was mainly for security.
Darkstone.
He looks back at he looks back at John for a moment and goes, "You wouldn't happen to know any of the places that he tagged that belong to you, do you?"
He looks up. Yes, John.
Do you remember someone by the name of Heaven's Knight used to frequent the city? Is it in the Harpy records? Is that where I remembering it from?
Yes, I believe I know his. It's one of his kind aliases. As far as the records go, I believe he's the child of Archangel.
So he is kindred. Interesting. I don't mean to cut this short, gentlemen, but I am interested in his work. I have seen a little bit of it. If you guys know of anywhere else in the city where he has tagged or been of late, could you point me in the direction of any of his work?
Oh, it's not a late piece that he's done, but Darkstone gives you a address of a bus stop. It's one of my favorite. And you might find it in the Facebook page. It's a huge spider that inside a bus stop.
Yeah. Alex will get up from the bar, but he hasn't as of yet left. He looks across at John, Darkstone, and everyone else at the table, and he just goes, "Well, it has been a pleasure meeting you. I actually think I'm going to spend the rest of my night looking around for any work from Heaven's Knight." It's been a pleasure meeting you again, John. He reached his hand out for a handshake.
John takes it, shakes his hand.
And with that, Alex will casually leave the room and back out into the crowd.
Are all Bostonian kindred so theological in their names, or is that just a quirk?
It's an artist's name.
A bit unusual, but what can I say? We're all a bit cracked.
Speak for yourself, Mr. Creed. I'm a pillar of sanity.
Oh, certainly, certainly. So regular people just go around bottling blood and things like that.
Everything is relative.
From the crowd, as Alex is walking out, you will hear a shout, "It's good! You should try it!"
Mr. Creed, was it?
Yes, you'll have to forgive me. I haven't been in this city long. Your customs are a bit strange.
We are a strange city. He'll give you a little salute. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. He extends his hand in kind of a warrior clasp handshake. More like the old style gripping wrist to wrist.
Yeah, he was actually going for one of those himself.
Finally, something that makes sense. He'll just sort of loosen back up, going back to tuning his Les Paul guitar and just sort of smiling to himself. Eventually, I'll get acclimatized to all of this.
So, who was your primogen again?
Thomas Whitman. Primogen of the Bruja of New Orleans.
Oh. Hmm.
The only reason why I'm here is I was summoned to perform a particular task. One of our revered elders was in a bit of a precarious position, I might say. So, rather than leaving them in the lurch, he sent me to perform certain aid.
Well, as a Bruja, I would advise you to be wary of the shadows.
Wary of the shadows? How so?
They might follow you.
He starts looking around a little nervously and takes off his ruby-tinted shades, actually trying to get a better view, but unintentionally showing off his rather luminous, glowing blue eyes. The shadows move in this city.
We are at war with the Sabbath.
That makes more sense. I was a little bit more concerned that it might be some sort of voodoo trick or something.
Ah, yes. You come from the city of magic, as they call it. Well,
Yes, we do tend to be a little bit eclectic. He snaps the shades back on and just tries to look a little bit more at ease. Apologies, I was a bit shocked at that.
Dogston will take a look around, spotting another new face to him. The Tremere.
Your mic's doing the same thing.
So, how are things in New Orleans these nights?
Well, last I checked, they were alright. I left about a week ago, but everything was still intact. You wouldn't believe how long it's taken to clean up after one blasted storm. However, we are rebuilding, which is a good thing. And as to the bizarre custom of feeding from bottles, I guess that's just a northern thing. I don't know. I think there's certain things you lose, a certain aspect of control you lose when you don't feed regularly from live prey. Of course, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so what do I know? My opinion is probably biased.
We're in the 21st century, Mr. Creed. If the kind do not leap upon gazelles and antelopes and tear into their flesh with their teeth, then why should we? We are in a civilized society now. Why do not we act as such?
Oh, I didn't say kill them. I'm just saying when you hunt regularly, you develop a certain tolerance. You learn how to pull yourself back. That's all I'm saying. By the way, I'm rolling self-control. Thank you. As soon as the dice stream will pop up. There we go.
No, we're not rolling self-control.
Yep. Okay.
It's just a brochure.
Yeah.
It's all right for you to say, Gangrel Boy.
And I'm spending a
Crown
lot.
is ready.
Yep, spending a willpower, so I barely managed to hold on to my composure. Alright. And you see me just kind of knuckle down under the table, just sort of digging my fingernails into my leg.
John leans back away from the bar a little. You can see the beast very clearly struggling with Mr. Creed. You're going to have to roll again, bud, because you need 5 successes. You've delayed it for a turn with that willpower.
I was just illustrating it before I was rolling again.
Yeah, that's fine.
Blah, blah, blah. Much better, much better. Still gonna have to roll again, though. You just slowly reining it in. You hear this kind of feral growl as he manages to yank it back. And,
I'm gonna roll perception empathy with half dice pool because right now I don't give a shit. And I know that.
Yep.
Something the matter, Mr. Creed.
No, I'm fine. I just sometimes lose a little bit of perspective on the vast amount of passions that my clan seems to have in abundance. Apologies.
It's okay. We understand that the Bruja have deficiencies with their temper.
You see an eyebrow kind of art does nothing.
Seeing that Mr. Creed has calmed himself, Crown will relax us a little bit. His hand has now come out from behind his jacket as if to let go of something, and he'll go back to his drink.
He'll turn and kind of look at you, and I'm going to be rolling perception empathy to kind of look at your face, see, kind of memorize you, considering I have a eidetic memory.
You memorizing it, or are you trying to read John's intentions?
Oh, I'm not trying to read your intentions. I'm trying to read Mr. Crown's.
Ah.
Basically, I get nothing. Absolutely nothing.
As John said that Darkstone slightly was about to turn to move, but then just lets it go. He's just too apathic this night to care about such notions.
As far as deficiencies, I think we all suffer from them in one way or another.
It is a curse for not being blue blood, I suppose.
Not without its advantages, but you're right. And just because I hold a slightly diametric viewpoint from you does not mean that I am deficient, sir. I will have you reminded of that.
Sorry, I was cut. What was the roll?
He failed completely, so don't worry about it.
Yep.
Oh.
No worries. Sometimes even my luck can't hold out.
Oh,
Crown will just sit there sipping on his drink and trying to just look over the crowd, mostly focusing on Creed and Stanhope, but he seems fairly relaxed.
my apologies if you took offense, Mr. Creed.
It's not necessarily taking offense, by the way. It's more of a certain ideological and ethical code that keeps me in line. Certain members of our clan do content themselves with being a rabble and being thugs and being troublemakers. I am much more of a thinker, a philosopher, a spiritualist. I have certain vents, and I tend to believe that when one hunts regularly, we at least have some modicum of control over the beast. I've honed mine over these past 7.5 decades.
John leans over, looks you up and down, and goes, evidently.
Yes, we can't all be made out of ice water and crystal sculptures now, can we?
I'm sorry, did you just insult the provision of adventure in my Elysium?
No, that wasn't an insult. It was just a jest. It's a joke.
Easy, John.
John smiles. You can, Crown's known him for a while. He's being an ass. He is just enjoying teasing the brouhaha.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is, unfortunately, Devin is happy to give it right back, so you're just making it worse. At this point, he will just completely try and glaze over and ignore you and go back to tuning his guitar. Like he's almost looking at an oil stain on the driveway, a little bit disdainful, but just kind of trying to rein it in and seeing you as kind of petty and vengeful.
Duxton will look over the crown. You might want to get some bandages, someone might get burned. And as flat as he is able to say that, but it's definitely just a joke himself. As he goes back to his seat and continues drinking.
Well, Mr. Darkstone, we should really gather the harpies together and get a more efficient information system worked out.
I should, but I just... I wish there were more active people in the town. Any word from Eleanor?
I haven't heard from Eleanor in...
6 months.
Yes.
Figures.
The Nosferatu I've met recently is Virginia Lucas.
She's a... pragmatic person.
Yeah, certainly head on her shoulders.
She has helped us a number of times. Saved, actually, well, tried to save a life of Prussia as he was attacked by a Assamite.
My God, we have an Assamite in the city now?
We did. I caught it, in a way. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Never mind.
In a way?
He was using obfuscate.
Bit of collateral damage.
Crowley got a new shave. Some of the house Tremere had a little cut. Well, actually, I think Crowley needed a new lung after that one.
Really?
It punched its hand through his chest.
My word. So, what should we expect on the streets nowadays? What are the harpies whispering about? I hope that most of them have been taken care of.
Oh yes, he didn't get far after he had his arm stuck inside the toreador. I guess he just... Jacob is simply that sticky. One of the Bruja had steak ready to had the Assamite state and captured.
I didn't think of having Camarilla Bruja, well, apart from Mr. Creed here.
Well, Linnea. She was in the town at the moment. I had a little setup done with her. It didn't go exactly as planned, but close enough. No one died.
John's jovial mood sort of drops for a second, and he becomes quite quiet for a second, like reflecting. That is the best outcome we can ever hope for.
And, well, what else? There was an attack in the Eagle. I'm sure you've noticed the ruckus. So we've got done with the news, but to cover up the evidence, it had to be burnt down. The building is still there, but I'm sure Devil and Gary will be quite pissed that the stage and such have been smashed to pieces, and
I heard idiotic anarchs promoting a public meeting place when our enemies are in the city.
Unfortunately, some anarchs died in the attack. You might want to roll perception empathy on that one.
John actually knows the truth.
Okay.
He's in the world with the sheriff, so... Anarchs, is it?
Not a lie, actually. It's just that it was so bright because some anarch ghouls died.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a truth, but it's like... It's a court truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, anarchs are expendable.
We shouldn't say that.
You shouldn't say it, but it's the truth. The anarchs need to get in line with the Camarilla. There are plenty of cities where a healthy anarch population works hand in hand with the Camarilla. This is not one of those cities.
It is a pity that they speak of being anarchs, but they do not understand what it actually means. Never even having heard of the Convention of Thorns.
There was that one anarch that couldn't not say Convention of Thorns 5 times in a given evening.
Ah, yes. The Shern incident.
Yes, indeed. What was his name?
Walter.
Yes, Mr. Shern. We've recently come into possession of his, well, I say recently, I've recently come into possession of his sausage company.
He Darkstone just goes into complete lockdown, like, what?
The man owned a company that stored and sold sausages.
But he wasn't in the city for like a month. Ah. And he came up as an Anak first, as I recall it.
Yes, because they all wanted to kill him.
Yeah. Which is kinda... ironic. But... Hmm. Then they had to put fence sitters to do the deed.
Quite. It is an odd time to be around. Anarchs, since Micah has left, don't seem to have any strong leadership. Running around with their tails, chasing their tails, I suppose. Not really sure where to bite themselves or us.
No. I hope they're not going back to the time of Nathaniel with Micah Rain gone from the city.
Yes, there is an old face that has appeared from Nathaniel's regime. Were you here for a gentleman who was called Flint?
Only in the records. None of the gang really knew about him. He was well, that I read in the records is that he disappeared after the oil rig incident. Well, around that date.
Yes, I had very similar. There are reasons to suspect he might have returned to the city.
Yes. There's a lot of new anarchs in town.
It seems you get through one batch and a new batch comes along. With all due respect, Lythander is Prince. His forward-thinking approach to the Anarchs probably has invited some curiosity amongst the local Anarch populace.
Yes. Now, have there been like at least 3 more of the House Tremere?
Really? I know that they are growing in quite a size, but I've only met I suppose I've met this Mr. Dr. Pullman.
No, he's been in the town for months. I noticed the female.
Yes, Miss Ferguson, who introduced herself to the prince.
Yes, well, I'm not sure if they were ghouls, but there were some reports of 2 other of the House Tremere.
They seem to be growing quite rapidly. Something
Yeah.
around, do you think?
I don't know, they just... You know what's happened in the past year with the Tremere.
True. Just
They
hope
get,
behave themselves.
simply so strange. Trying to assassinate a prince, then calling an archon in town. Then suddenly they just disappear and a new patch comes in.
Out of character, I'm rolling to see if I can hear any of this.
Sure, like, you get it all.
Yeah, we're not.
Like, Darkstone doesn't care. He's being the halfie right now. Like, he's badmouthing the Tremere. Like. And you might have noticed that he uses the term house Tremere rather than the clan right now.
Alright. Well, perhaps if you were a little less concerned with throwing snide jakes at people and sweeping your own back porch, the city wouldn't be in such disarray.
Oh, I think you'll find that my back porch is immaculately clean, Mr. Creed. Everyone else's, however.
Isn't that always the way? It's always everyone else who has the problem.
Oh. I wish they would actually tell the court that they're coming into the town before having to spend months and finally coming up into Elysium to announce themselves.
You know the Tremere, they have their chantry and they like to keep their secrets. But in Nosferatu, you can never be really sure how many are actually in the city.
They've been especially quiet. It's so annoying. So, how is Calliope?
She is doing very well, apart from the incident that occurred last night. Have you heard of this Joseph Swingley?
Yes, I met him the other night.
A very enthusiastic gentleman came from Looking Glass to present himself to Mr. Crowley while the two were having a little discussion. She told me that while she offered him hospitality within her domain, since he just arrived in the city, he decided he would like to hack into her security cameras and spy on her. And when she confronted him about this, the man went into a rant. She asserted the fact that it was her domain, and, well, he frenzied and attempted to attack her within her domain. At which point, the outcome, I think, we saw in this Elysium.
Well, the body count that Miss Tavolaris has left in our oppression speaks highly of her abilities. I doubt the little magician really had any chance at that moment when his mind went shut.
It's a telling of one's charity and, I suppose, good nature that she didn't kill him on the spot, like many of us would, for such an insult.
Well, she didn't get herself a scratch on her, did she?
Not that I saw.
I do remember sparring with her. She actually literally crossed me before I even got the chance to even move on her. It was an interesting experience.
The old days of the fighting kids. They were an amusing distraction. Made quite a lot of money out of the bets. But too often things got out of hand and few close calls.
Well, should I send you the plans on my little project that I told you about? If you want it. I just don't have time for it.
I will I'll look at it for you, Darkstone.
Mm.
I know this is your work as a harpy is weighing heavily on you at the moment, but I will keep it in trust.
Yeah. But I think it's time for me to return to being the little bird.
Yes, I think before we all get too sentimental and start sipping mint juleps, I'll make my exit. Uh, Mr. Primogen, assembled company, good evening.
Interesting, Bruhar. I look forward to see what he does with himself in the city.
Yeah. I wish he had. Well, at least Twingy had the idea to inform us before coming in. But it's a good thing they have the at least a letter of recommendation, though so have some of the infiltrators.
Alexander walks over to the bar and sits down.
Darkstone goes over to John to shake his hand for good night, John.
Good night, Darkstone. We shall speak on in the next few nights.
Mm. Oh yes, I should speak to you on the part of the old domains and the new ones and how it's gonna go. I'm sure you have the idea how the venture is going. Reb Lotharius, they never really wanted the court to know that much of it. I've led it to Irish to keep the records on that.
No, clarity in domain is going to have to be a strong thing.
Mm,
We can't all be hiding behind our cards with our poker face. We need to
mm.
the city. If we're all keeping secrets, how can anyone trust each other?
I'm mostly about the old domains are like Hunsbrook and such that either left the city or met the untimely demise in the rule of the madman, and in the time of his departure. We can make the records clear.
Exactly. It's time for us to stop hanging on to the past and rebuild anew. I've already made steps to make sure that if venture do not hold it, we're going to right
Yeah.
to allow our new neonates coming to the city places to grow.
I'm mostly worried that they might have left something behind. Simply scan the sweep up.
I will make it a priority to go over these last remnants of the past and collect what I can.
Hmm. Now, if you don't mind me, I think I'll go for a stroll around the town. Good night.
Do you happen to have anything airy in taste?
John smirks and feels he's going to be doing this for quite some time. He pulls out a glass and fills it up. And I'm going to end the scene there because it's getting a little late. Good night, everyone.